And one of the things that pleases me the most is to be able to watch the children of country music legends establish their own careers and still maintain a deep respect for their parents, their famous parents. And nowhere will you see it stronger than in the children of the 5 people that happen to be 5 of Ralph's closest friends over the years. Tex Ritter, Dottie West, Merle Haggard, George Morgan, and Marty Robbins.
Do not forsake me, oh my darling, on this our wedding day.
Woodward Maurice Ritter. You know him as just plain Tex. He called me Jonathan. I'm really proud of the way the bronze plaque at the Country Music Hall of Fame describes him. One of America's most illustrious stars of radio, TV, records, movies, and the Broadway stage. His devotion to God, his family, and his country is a continuing inspiration to his countless friends throughout the world. Well, my dad was very special. He was very lucky, a big star, but very gracious. He was always very proud that he was one of the first cowboys to kiss the girl at the end of a cowboy movie. He said that after 2 hours of fighting and shooting, by God, I deserve it. And that was actually before he met my mom on a movie set, and from then on, she became his leading lady both on and off the set. And why we're here tonight is to salute Ralph Emery. There were a lot of stories, Dad and Ralph Emery. That studio at WSM was his and Ralph's home away from home. He loved hosting that show with Ralph. More than once, even when he traveled, he'd stop off to see Ralph before he got home to see Mom. And something kind of special happened during those times. Dad would go in tired and dragging from a tour and come out ready to take on the world. Mom would bring them cookies at the radio stations as they sat and talked through the night, and people said that Dad and Ralph were like 2 big kids watching for and waiting for their treats. He was one of the wisest men I ever knew and one of the funniest. He traveled the nation and the world making friends and gaining a depth of knowledge and understanding that few others possess. He treated Ralph actually much like he did my brother and me, always giving advice even when we didn't want it, and telling stories that were intended to teach us something. I wish you were here to tell us some of those stories tonight, but then, in a way, I guess he'll always be with us, and we'll always be with him. Ralph Emery, on behalf of my brother, my mother, and my father, we salute you.
Here comes my baby back again.
I'm Shelley West, and that's my mom. I think I was 5 when that record came out and became a big hit. And it was really the first time that I began to see the impact that Dottie West, the entertainer, had on people. Anybody that knows my mom knows that she's a hard worker, but what some people don't know is that from a little farm in McMinnville, Tennessee, it must have seemed like a million miles to the footlights of the Opry. She always looked on the bright side and used her talent and her sense of humor to go from her little church choir to singing with Jim Reeves and Kenny Rogers. I'll always remember what fun it was growing up around our house. Friends were always dropping in to sing and to try out new material and to write. Roger Miller was there, and Willie Nelson and Marty Robbins, to name a few. And Mom would cook up food for everybody, and they'd sing and talk for hours. Those times are my first memories of Ralph. He was always there with the guys, and in fact, he was such a regular at our house that he says he even changed my diapers once. I really can't remember a time that Ralph hasn't been there, encouraging and supporting me and my career. Ralph is like family, and he makes everyone else feel that way too. I think that's what country is all about. And Ralph, you're a big reason for that.
Today I started loving you again. I'm right back where I've really always been. I'm Marty Haggard, and Merle's my dad. Merle Haggard is called a giant in country music, and he says that only in America could a man do what he did, and that's go from the bottom to the top, from being in San Quentin to playing at the White House lawn. But he's more than just a dad. He's the biggest single influence in my life. He's not only my hero, but he's my friend. He told me of the time he came to Nashville early on in his career, and he was supposed to do an interview with Ralph at about 2 o'clock, roughly. Well, Dad missed his wake-up call, and so when Ralph rang the room, he wasn't ready. They got into an argument that almost ended up in a knockdown, drag-out fight. Well, they mended up some fences real fast. That developed a real deep and strong friendship. Dad was there for Ralph many times after that. And some years later, Ralph was there for my dad when he really needed him. Dad never hid the fact that he loved his mother very deeply. And when she died, it was only one of the times that I've ever seen him devastated to the point of being knocked to his knees. He only asked one person to speak at her funeral, and that was Ralph Emery. Over the years, Ralph has been an encouragement to me in my career, too. Dad, I wish I could find the right words of thanks for all the advice and for all the example you've set for me. You've brought into my life so many wonderful friends, and Ralph, you definitely are a special friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Candy kisses wrapped in paper mean more to you than any of mine.
When I hear people say that George Morgan was the smoothest singer in country music, it makes me so very proud. I'm his youngest daughter, Lori Morgan. Even with such great successes like Candy Kisses, Dad was no stranger to hard times, but that never stood in his way. He tried to teach everyone how important it was in life to have a sense of humor. And believe me, there have been many times in my own life that I thank God for Dad and how he taught me that laughter truly is the best medicine. I remember the morning he took me with him to Ralph's early morning TV show. He sneaked up on Ralph and threw a pie in his face. And that's the way Dad was all the time. His friends at the Opry say they loved to be on the road with him. There were no private jets or tour buses, just singers and instruments crammed into a car. They say Dad kept them from getting bored and lifted their spirits. On Dad's 51st birthday, he introduced me on the Opry. I was only 16, and he was so proud that it made him cry. After my dad's death, Ralph took a real personal interest in me and used me regularly on his TV shows. Ralph, you've been the encouragement to me in my career that I know my father would have been if he was still here. I love you, Ralph.
Love you.